Welcome to Go Find Out, the Career Switch podcast. I'm Jennifer Jelliff-Russell, author, career coach, and speaker, bringing you actionable ideas from knowledgeable guests on how to successfully kick your fears to the curb to go after your career goals. You can find more episodes by visiting gofindoutpodcast.com. Enjoy the show and go find out. Welcome back to Go Find Out, the Career Switch podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Jelliff-Russell, and this is episode number 70. In today's episode, I want to talk about the importance of learning to let things go when you get overwhelmed. But first, let's jump into my personal update. Hey, career switchers! I feel like these last 2 weeks have flown by, not only because I've been busy learning about user experience design in Avocademy, but also because I have had the opportunity to interview some really amazing women for our next few episodes. Now, we are now entering one of my favorite times of the year, seedling starting time. There's just something about watching vegetables grow from seeds you've planted indoors. I maybe get a little ridiculous checking them throughout the day just to see the minute changes that have happened in the past 5 minutes since I last checked. Okay, maybe I don't check them that much, but honestly, there really is something just kind of magical about watching plants start from seeds that you've planted. And if you've never started seeds before and you have a little extra time on your hands, which is exactly the opposite of what this episode is about, you should definitely try it. Honestly, all you really need to start seeds is a clear plastic container with a clear plastic lid, some dirt, some seeds, and a sunny window. A super cheap option for a seed starting container for smaller projects is actually one of those clear plastic egg containers that have the 3 parts to them. I've dropped a link in the show notes so you can see exactly what I mean and how to use it. But honestly, if you want a fun sort of pick-me-up and a cheap project to grow your own flowers or vegetables or herbs, this is a really awesome way to do it. And if you don't have enough money for seeds, many libraries will actually provide free seeds if you have a library card with them. If you decide to try starting your own seeds, I would love to see a picture of them so you can tweet them to me so I can see how your seedlings do. Okay, enough about starting seedlings. Let's jump into the topic of today's solo show, learning to let things go. So, as you probably guessed from the title and topic of this show, I am feeling a bit burnout and I'm ready to let some things go. It's funny, I actually started thinking about speaking on this topic about a week ago. Then I happened to listen to Joanna Penn of the Creative Penn podcast talking about the same thing with one of her guests. And if you're wondering who she is, if you jump back to episode 47 of this podcast, you can hear her story of starting a career as an author. So anyways, it made me feel a little bit better to hear that I wasn't the only one feeling like I needed to let something go in order to not hit burnout. So then I realized that maybe some of you needed to hear it too. If you're anything like me, you maybe have taken on too many jobs, side hustles, or hobbies, and now are having trouble letting go of something in order to either make room for something else or to avoid burnout from having too many irons in the fire. For me, stopping something or letting go of something very much feels like a failure. I know it's not, but convincing my brain of that is more difficult than it really ought to be. So here are some things to keep in mind to help you and me let go of something that is no longer serving you or serving us. So the first is figure out what to let go of. You might already know exactly what it is that you need to let go of. Maybe it's freeing yourself from that goal of reading 100 books this year. Or maybe it's finally giving up a side hustle that either doesn't bring in money or simply doesn't bring you joy anymore. That's great if you know what to let go of. But for those of you who just feel like you're barely treading water and everything feels like an obligation weighing you down and trying to drown you, first you need to figure out what it is that you can let go of. Personally, I like a list. I know, super low tech for someone trying to break into tech, but I like to make a list of all the projects or things that need my attention. Then I'll put a star next to the things that are actually moving the needle on helping me get closer to my overall goal. Next, I'll put a different symbol, let's say a happy face, next to the things that I enjoy doing. Now, hopefully there are some things on the list that don't have a star or a happy face next to them. These are the things to consider letting go of. But if you don't have anything left in your list after starring obligations and putting a smiley face next to the things that make you happy, then you either need to decide if something is really an obligation or if there is something from your happy face list that letting go of wouldn't cause you to lose all joy from. Another slightly higher tech option is to make a list of your projects, then video yourself talking about each one. And yes, I totally saw this on a TikTok. Once you've recorded yourself explaining or describing each project on your list, rewatch the video and pay attention to your body language, your facial expressions, and your energy overall. Are there things that you are obviously more enthusiastic about than others? If you notice yourself looking bored or looking like explaining the thing is a chore, that might be something you might consider letting go of. So the next thing is that letting go can mean freeing up space for something else. If something no longer fits into your roadmap and it isn't doing anything to help you attain your overall goals, then it might be time to let it go in order to free up space for something else that will help you move closer to your goals. Lately, I've been toying with the idea of letting go of these solo episodes. Not the whole podcast, don't worry, just these solo episodes, and that way I can simply focus on dropping one interview episode a month. That would give me more time for editing and marketing on that monthly episode. I don't ever want to give up this podcast altogether because, quite frankly, it's too much fun speaking with my awesome guests. And this doesn't mean I'll stop the solo episodes forever. In fact, I'm thinking about this more as a soft pause than a hard stop. I might even switch to 2 interview episodes a month. But for now, while I'm torn in so many directions, it means pausing the solo episodes to put more focus on my guest interview episodes instead. If you're struggling to figure out what to let go of, consider if there's something that you can merely put a soft pause on instead. Is there something that you can temporarily step away from in order to give more focus to something else that needs more attention right now? The last thing is knowing that letting go doesn't mean giving up. This is probably the biggest hurdle for me in letting something go. Giving up something sounds a lot like failure or quitting, especially if this is something that I've tried to do before and wasn't successful at the second or third time around. Right now, for me, that's my career coaching business. As I've mentioned on the show before, I've started a career coaching and resume writing service before with a partner, only to shut it down when we didn't agree on the direction of the business. And while I know my current situation with Evergrowth Coach is very different, it still doesn't help me to feel better about letting go of my business. The problem is, though I love chatting with clients and providing coaching, what I don't love doing anymore are resumes. I also simply don't have the time to keep the career coaching business going along with my author business, this podcast, and my goal of taking a traditional full-time role in user experience design. As much as I hate to let it go, and I feel like letting it go is a failure, I also know that the coaching business doesn't really serve me anymore, and my heart isn't in it the way that it really once was. So while I'll still hold on to my website for marketing my nonfiction career books, and I might maybe someday make some on-demand career coaching courses, I think it makes sense right now at least to step back from one-on-one coaching and resume writing. And framing it that way is really important for me. Seeing it as stepping back feels more like a pivot than a failure. And that is really what this is, a pivot. So try not to think about letting go of something as giving up on it. All you're doing is pivoting. You might even go back to that project one day, but for right now, that project or side hustle or whatever that thing is no longer serves you, and it's time to let it go. All right, that's our show for today. Join me next time when I interview Andrea Galbraith, who started a thriving succulent business called Just Suck It. Until then, go find out. Thanks for listening to the show. I hope the information helps you tackle your own career switch goals. You can let me know what you thought of the show by messaging me on Instagram at GoFindOutCareerSwitch or commenting on one of my TikToks at Evergrowth Coach. That's it for today. Now go find out.